So this episode was way more scary than what I thought. Because last week you asked like, oh, how are you feeling? I'm like, oh, Outlast totally prepared me, and I take those words back because I screamed multiple times, even though you warned me there was a jump scare.
I didn't know if your nerves of steel would last. Things got crazy in this episode. Speaking of, in this episode, we hope that squirrels are nocturnal because we blame some creepy stuff on them. I think we're starting to suspect that the angry elk are behind everything. And then things get a little dicey. Or they get diced. Thank you for coming back for Replay Reviews Horror Month. My name is Leah.
And my name is Scotty.
We are two friends who are here to replay, review, and analyze your favorite video games. And since Kathy has never seen the games before, it helps me view them through her fresh eyes. Almost like I am discovering them again for the first time.
There will be a similar experience for you.
Do I sound like Dracula or just Italian?
You sound Italian.
Alright, so we pick back up in Chapter 3, Haunted. It's now 8 hours until dawn. Chris, Ashley, and Josh use the spirit board. And Chris says, Ashley, you're a recent convert. Why don't you get us started? And I'm thinking, convert to what? What is she converted to that makes it relevant to operate a Ouija board?
I feel like anyone can do it. I thought it was like you just spit out a question, like anyone can ask a question.
Yeah, I don't understand the comment. But the questions and answers we get in this session are, is anyone there? Help. How can we help you? Warning. What are you warning us about? Sister. Who are we speaking to? Hannah? Yes. And at this point, Chris says, if this is actually Hannah, we can find out what happened that night. And then when they ask who killed you, it says the library. Proof. And then did you see the ghost in the background?
I thought I saw something, but I wasn't sure what I was looking at.
Yeah. It's creepy. It's like an anti-jump scare. It's just kind of hanging out in the background. But then the board shakes and jumps, freaking them all out. Josh gets pretty upset and walks off, and then Chris and Ashley decide that they should check the library.
I really don't understand why Josh isn't clarifying what exactly they're sorry for. I don't know. I just felt like his character fell flat right there. Because I don't think he knows that his friends pulled the prank, right?
Oh, I thought he did know. I assumed he knew.
I was assuming he's still in the dark about that, and that's why he would be so open to inviting all his friends back to the cabin. And that's why I had my whole theory about he's seeking revenge because maybe he knows and he's pretend like he doesn't know and he's going to see if his friends confess.
Okay.
But
I don't know.
I don't know.
See.
We'll see.
Anything else on scene 1?
I remember there was a jump scare. Something got me. I just screamed.
Not even 6 minutes in and you're screaming already.
Yeah.
So moving on to scene 2, we're back to Mike, right where we left off, and he's looking for Jess. Along the way, he finds a danger totem which shows a herd of elk. I don't know what's with the elk in this game.
I
but
don't know. The elk, for some reason, also look like there's some mystical creature, like something from Harry Potter. What is up?
Yeah, they're doing weird things to the elk in this game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. And this is only we're going to talk about elk a lot, I feel like, in this episode. Speaking of, not long after the danger totem, Jess jumps out at Mike holding an elk head, like a mask. Where do you just find an elk head?
And how is she not creeped out that one is so readily available to be holding up and scaring people with?
But also she filmed it, so I guess that she learned nothing from last year.
She is going to get herself killed if she keeps playing pranks like these. It's going to be the boy who cried wolf situation.
Mike says, if you send that to anyone,
I'm gonna kill you.
and she just ignores that comment. It sounded a little too real.
That's what I thought, and I think that's why she's going to get herself killed, is she doesn't realize that people are more dangerous than what she thinks they are.
As they're walking away, we see that they're being watched through that same vision that we saw looking at Hannah and Beth, so Whatever was there a year ago is still here. This is where we blame the squirrels, even though it's the middle of the night. They hear a weird noise, kind of like a screech. Jess says,
Was it someone screaming?
No. No. Probably just a squirrel.
I don't know what kind of squirrels he's used to, but squirrels for sure do not make that kind of noise in the middle of the night
No.
that loud.
absolutely not. In a shed along the path, Mike finds an old mask, which is a clue, and then scares Jess with it, causing her to fall into the freezing creek. The noise he makes when he scares her is so dumb. It's like not... I'll pull it up.
I didn't think she would get scared because it's such a dumb sound.
There's something about the voice acting or the writing in this game where, like, we had complaints about Detroit Become Human because it seemed so bad, but it's supposed to be bad in this game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like campy horror, and it's delightful.
It helps enhance how stupid the characters are.
And how unserious they're being, too.
So as they're walking through the snowy woods, they hear the sound, and it turns out to be an injured elk. They could choose to either kill or comfort the elk, and Mike chooses, or the wheel chooses Mike to go and comfort the animal. But then randomly something like pulls the elk away, or is it that the elk jumps away? I can't even tell, but it happens so quickly.
I wrote in my notes that it gets swiftly yanked away.
That's a really
Something
good description.
Pulls that thing. Also, I need you to know that if you kill the elk, he doesn't go about it as you would expect.
Uh-huh.
He grabs the antlers, and I guess because it's been slashed so deeply, when he twists it, the head just comes off.
Oh my god, that's... So killing it, I was thinking it would be like as a humane way to let it stop suffering, not like yanking the head up. What?
Not like, dismembering it. Which, he doesn't expect it, but still. But anyway, obviously they're terrified and they start sprinting through the snow. And we see the creepy vision again. They do eventually make it into the cabin, but of course Jess has to trip and fall.
And it takes her so long to get up. But I'm glad the wheel made Mike choose to grab the key, because, I mean, like, she could get up and walk in, but she doesn't. Like, she's like, help me. But, ma'am, just get up. You have legs.
They do both, though, make it inside, and they decide, it must have just been a bear. I'm sure it was just a bear. They calm down a bit and start to settle in, but Jess is pissed after being scared into the creek and being left on the porch after tripping, and the lack of power and heating in the cabin. She's in a mood.
That's really nicely said about her. I was like, woman, read the room. That you almost got killed in this forest by God knows what, and then you're complaining about there not being mood lighting.
But around the cabin, Mike finds a book of Native American myths and legends, and inside we see the same symbol that we found in the mine. And about it, the book says it's a ward or spell protecting against evil spirits.
I'm curious how much more we'll see it. I hope it's not one of those things where it talks about it and then it never really gets incorporated into the rest of the games.
He also finds a rifle that he points at Jess before then looking down the barrel himself.
Their stupidity. They're almost asking to be killed.
They are. And we find out later that that gun is loaded. But then Jess soon realizes that she's lost her phone. But they don't want to go out and looking for it because they think that the bear is still out there. After Mike is able to get the fire lit and all of Jess's demands covered, she's still kind of pissed, but he uses a line on her that's just bad and says it's always worked before. It's the same line that he used on Hannah when they were pranking her. He says,
Maybe we should start with a little, making out and see where it goes from there.
He's a pig.
It's so bad, Kathy.
I feel like calling him a pig is insulting actual pigs. Because he's terrible.
It's so bad. And she was there, too. Like, there's video proof that that's what he said. Anyway, she's almost warmed up enough, but asks him to close the shutters.
And then you see the whatever mystery character that has a red vision. He just like sinks down. So he hears things differently and he also sees things differently. And I don't know if it's a mask that he's wearing or if he is some creature. We don't know, but slowly that thing just sinks down. And why is it moving like that?
Yeah, I don't know. We don't know what's going on, but something is definitely watching them. And their really unnatural looking makeout session is interrupted by a crash in the cabin. Upon investigation, they see that Jess's phone has been thrown through the window.
The only person I can think of throwing the phone back in is that red vision thing. But why throw it? Like, if you're scared, like, you could have chosen any other objects, like a rock. It didn't have to be your phone, so is there a reason why you did that?
There's just something disturbing about something, like, returning your lost object. But in an aggressive way. I don't know. But Jess assumes that the gang is messing with them, and she's angry, so storms outside to yell at them. And we see that she is being watched. And then she comes back inside and is quickly snatched and pulled through the window.
I was shocked.
What do you think is happening?
I don't know. That thing had hands, like with fingers, and so unless it's like just gloves and just some prosthetic hand, like it's not like it has elk paws or hooves. I don't know what that is.
It's one of those nocturnal squirrels.
Yeah. I just don't know what to think that. Yes, she had it coming with attracting all the attention like that when she was just screaming out in the woods. But still, like, the fact that it so easily pulled her through the windows, like, that strength?
Yeah. Well, it's not a big window either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, at some point, Mike says, nothing is going to come through that cabin door. And he wasn't wrong, technically. We're now back to Chris and Ashley as they head to the library. On the way, Ashley notices a light coming from the basement through a heat vent, which is a clue. And Chris says the power's not even on.
Is there multiple sources of power? Because you have nothing from, like, the top layer, but then you have something from, like, the basement, I guess. And then we also, kind of coming from the guidance totem, we know there's some kind of like an underground layer with some water source near that water wheel. So it almost feels like there's a whole nother world beneath the ground level that maybe that's where that red vision creature thing is living.
In the library, books fly off the shelves at them, revealing a hidden button. And when pressed, a secret room opens up. Inside, they find a photo of Hannah and Beth with a message on the back. It says, I will take them and bleed them like pigs and rip their soft white skin off. 16 years I waited for pretty little Hannah and Beth.
Okay, what a creep. So if they're 18-year-olds when they died, like around that age because they're in high school, that means this person has known them since they're 2 and has been creeping on them. And that is disturbing, A.
Yeah.
B is the way it contrasts between just wanting to kill them, but then also describing their skin as, like, what did they call them? Like, pale white skin. In a
soft.
In a like a positive way, but then having such malicious intentions for them is also really creepy. And C, why is this person writing notes like that on a picture? And how did this get kept from the Washington family?
And why is it in their library in a secret room?
Yeah, how did they not know about this?
But I thought that this game came out in 2014, but it's 2015, so they might be a little older, like 20. Assuming they're in, like, not all the same exact age. They're probably, like, 18 to 21. Just correcting myself from last episode. They could have another year or 2 on them.
Still too young to be creeping on them.
Oh, yeah. Well, shouldn't creep on anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
You definitely shouldn't want to rip their skin off of anyone at any
gosh.
at any age. They wisely decide that they need to go find Josh, and as they're walking through the house, doors open on their own. Doors that were locked are now unlocked. But they decide to go through the door anyway. They do find a letter from Melinda Washington to the Race and Ethnicity Department, stating that she plans to make a donation, and on the back is a handwritten note saying, "Saw that crazy guy again, Thursday 9:17 p.m., hanging around generator shed. I'm gonna start keeping a record."
That might be our red vision, dude.
Our skin peeler. Our
Ugh, that's so gross.
our heavy breather.
What if the race and what's it called? The race and
Ethnicity
department. The people that they're representing said that, oh, we need a sacrifice to kind of smooth things out, and they're like, just take our twin daughters. That
Just an under the table sacrifice, off the record.
they chose that we will take a sacrifice of our choosing, and that's your twin kids. So as they're going further into the house or to a different part of it, they hear Josh behind closed doors, and it sounds like he's screaming for help. Ashley and Chris rush over, only for Ashley to be pulled behind.
Yeah, she opens it and peeks her head in and then gets yanked in, and the door slams behind her.
And then Chris tries his best to break in, and when he does, he is attacked by this clown thing.
Yeah.
We
saw it in a totem at some point.
It's so freaky. It's disturbing. This is why people hate clowns.
One of many reasons why. We see the creepy clown dragging Ashley away and then lighting candles and leaving balloons with arrows on them. Clown has plans.
And why is it putting this whole theatric part of it? If you want to kidnap Josh, just chloroform him and then, right? If you just want to kill them, just straight up kill them. There's no need for all this.
Yeah. But moving on to scene 4, quick session with Dr. Hill. He says, "I'm going to show you pictures of people you've come to know. Who is it that you most dislike?" And the wheel ends up choosing Chris. How do you feel about that? Do you agree, is Chris your most disliked at this point?
For me personally, either Emily or Jess or Mike.
There's a video I forgot to pull up. We missed the line. It's so good. If you pick Emily. What Dr. Hill says in response is so funny, so I need to find it.
Okay.
A bit too bitchy for your taste.
They know, Kathy. They knew what they were doing.
They made her character like that just so you can hate on her.
But in this playthrough, obviously, Chris is what we land on, and Dr. Hill says, "I guess you think he's getting what he deserves. You think the way you feel about him justifies the terrible trauma that he will soon go through. Now, why would you think that?" Kind of cryptic.
Yeah. Also, in Dr. Hill's office, I guess, he has this weird creature-looking thing that just is standing there, and it looks like it's being strangled.
Mm-hmm.
It's so creepy.
Keep tabs on it. Chapter 4, Malevolence, 7 hours until dawn. After Jess is snatched through the cabin window, Mike grabs the rifle and a lantern and starts chasing her. At one point, he uses a scope to spot Jess, and we see her crawling on her stomach only to be dragged backwards by something that Mike is not quick enough to scope.
At that point, though, if you knew something was dragging, why not just move your scope a bit behind Jess and just shoot?
Or at least get a look at whatever is attacking her. He follows her screams to the mine and eventually hears her phone still playing music. Walking towards it, he soon finds Jess when she falls down in front of him, pretty clearly dead. Do you agree?
Yeah, and it looks like her lower half of her face has been ripped open.
Sure does. The wheel wanted her dead so bad. In order to save her, you have to pick the quick options to get there. And the wheel chose the slow option every single time. So it took 3 times as long to get to her.
I wonder what her fate would be if you saved her. Would she still be susceptible to death?
She falls down. It's kind of left unknowing, did she survive or not? She still falls, but her face isn't ripped off. Mike reacts to something above him, aims the rifle, and we see a horizontal head. And he takes a shot at it, and then for some reason climbs up after it. And we see a man in a coat walking ahead of him. What's going on?
But also, why is that guy so unafraid of being seen? Like, if you killed someone, you would run away, right? But yet, he's so slow and confident that nothing's gonna hurt him. So why is he this confident?
It's kind of scary that he's that confident. He continues to follow him anyway. Outside the mines, Mike sees the man entering a huge building, which I think we can assume at this point is the sanatorium we've heard about.
I think it's a sanatorium, I agree with you. I can't think of any other place.
Chris wakes up on the floor. Ashley's nowhere in sight, so he starts looking for her. Along the way, he finds, and pause me if there's any of this that you want to talk about, her coin purse, which is covered in blood spatters, and a crow. More blood spatters, now outside, and seemingly making a trail. The jump scare dummy. That one got you.
I think that was the one where as soon as it happened, I screamed, "I hate you, Leah," for making me watch this.
See, I knew that was a jump scare, but I thought it was something that you, like, had to press X to investigate. So I wasn't expecting it either. And then he finds a pig head, which that's a clue. A death totem showing someone's legs flailing while we hear odd screeching. More blood trail, which leads to an outbuilding, and we hear Ashley calling out for Chris.
I just am curious why Chris isn't dead right now. I mean, they're all gonna die at some point, I assume. But I'm wondering if because we said we disliked him the most at the Dr. Hill's office, that's why we get to play him, and he's not doing anything quite so dumb yet to put himself into jeopardy.
Chris walks towards her voice to find her and Josh tied up in another room. There is a saw blade on a track, and the track splits, one to Josh and one to Ashley. And then we hear the psycho's voice. He tells Chris that he must decide who will live and who will die, and at this point the saw starts up.
I mean, here's the thing. Until he makes a change to like where the railroad tracks are, the saw blade isn't moving quite yet, so he could have tried breaking in and saving both of them.
Yeah, I don't know if it does start moving eventually, but I had the same thought. Like, don't play this guy's game, because then no matter who's left alive, they can't blame you, you know? Because you didn't make a choice. So I think he should have been trying to just find a way into the room. I agree. The wheel chooses for him to save Josh, but Chris pulls the lever the wrong way. The instructions are unclear, and he accidentally sends the saw to Josh, who is cut in half.
If you chose to kill Josh, would it accidentally go to Ashley?
Directions are unclear.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna say.
How sick do you have to be totally okay with creating something so gruesome and putting it into a game, like sawing someone in half? That's too much for me. And I was saying that I'm fine with things not being gory.
I know.
And then this game takes a turn.
Little did you know.
And we're only part 2 into this game.
Okay, but their feet were not tied together, and I feel like if they, had done a few more crunches in their life,
Yeah.
they maybe could have lifted their legs above the saw.
Might cut the bottom half of their cheeks, but...
Yeah. Do your crunches. Chris helps Ashley down, and they start to walk back to the lodge where they bump into Matt and Emily. They get caught up on what's happened and decide to find everyone and get some help.
I would never split apart at this point if that's what happened.
I would be there. My pants would be full of pee, full of poo. I would have thrown up. I'd be crying. There would be no liquid left in my body within an hour.
First of all, I wouldn't even put myself in this kind of position to be in the middle of nowhere.
I know. I mean, it sounds fun. If I had a friend whose parents owned an entire mountain, I would definitely be up there. But I would not play with the Ouija board.
And I wouldn't do it at night.
No. The first thing that I would have said is, let's get a fire going and the power on. And let's make some drinks and some food. Should we go back to Dr. Hill now? That was a short chapter 4. So Dr. Hill asks, is the night going the way that you hoped it would? And our response is, it's going fine. Dr. Hill says, and do you think that these poor people are getting what they deserve? We say, who are you? And he responds, I'm trying to help you.
I feel like Dr. Hill may be like having a personality disorder, and he is also the red vision person. Like, why is he
Okay.
alone in the middle of nowhere with this practice? His windows are boarded up. Is he maybe practicing and like having this whole therapy session at the sanatorium? And then there's also that creature thing that is now sitting around, I believe, in the scene. Or
It's
maybe that's
moved.
the next scene. But
I think it has a saw blade in its head now.
yeah, it's I don't trust this Dr. Hill.
I don't blame you. He goes on to say, this game you're playing, it's not good for you. It's not good for anyone. Do you intend to continue with this elaborate self-indulgence?
I feel like because there's a hat, he's talking to the red vision guy. But I'm also wouldn't be surprised if he's talking to another one of his personalities.
Okay. Speaking of, I guess, similar vein, he says, do you even believe that I am real? The heart of the problem. Can you even tell the difference anymore? I doubt it. So whether he's talking to himself, someone else, us, it's starting to get a little more complicated, unclear. What's real, what's fake, we don't know.
I don't trust him.
Chapter 5, Dread. We now have 6 hours until dawn. This guy has wolves. Mike follows him anyway. Inside, he finds that the man is living in the chapel, but he needs a key card to get access to it. He finds an administration note, which is a clue. They're dated January 4th, 1952, and talk about getting prepared for an influx of patients, minors that are being rescued. On the back, a handwritten note reads, you'll need a nose peg. Those guys smell awful. And this note also confirms we're in the sanatorium. Thoughts on this first clue in here?
Rude. But it sounds like the sanatorium is there to serve the minors, but I also don't know what other purpose there is. It can't be just that generous that they want to take care of the people. I feel like there's something nefarious going on.
And then we also find a plaque that says Blackwood Pine Sanatorium, open 1922. And then I think it's Latin. It says Mens Sana Incorpore Sano. I'm sure that I said that horribly wrong, but I don't care. And that is a healthy mind and a healthy body.
Which is something no one has in this game.
Yeah, pretty standard for a sanatorium. But yeah, elusive to all of us right now. We also find a safe that contains 30 clocking in cards. This is a clue.
Why are the time cards in a safety box?
Excellent question. And why does a wooden stick have enough leverage to open a safe?
It's a strong stick.
Especially with Mike's near frostbitten bare arms at this point. There's no way he had the strength to do that. He then finds a broken camera, which is also a clue. And the Alberta Post from January 9th, 1952, so pretty much same day as the notes, pretty close. And this discusses the assault of a reporter at the sanatorium by security staff. The article also mentions the minor rescue. It sounds like they were trapped underground for 3 weeks due to a collapse. Any notes on this so far?
No, keep going.
Okay. A lot of information in this one. We also learned that a man named Jefferson Bragg is the sole proprietor of both the mining company and the sanatorium, which I feel like seems like a red flag a little bit.
My theory at this point is, what if, because it's all owned by the same person, and that's fishy to me, they also were somehow involved in the mining area, and they knew something bad was going to happen, so they took all these miners and moved them into their own facility to pretty much discredit anything they say. Like, if they are normal, they're still going to make it sound like they're not, just because any truth that comes out is going to backfire on them.
I agree. Something feels fishy with this whole setup. The next clue that we find is minor medical report. The sanatorium had expected the miners to be starved, but they had found emergency food supplies. Mentally, though, they're all worse off, and on the back of this, another handwritten note says, "One of those guys actually tried to bite me. I'm going to report it to Dr. Bowen."
I mean, what do you expect when you pretty much trap them here?
I feel bad for the nurses.
Yeah.
They're getting bitten. Random creeps just taking chunks out of them.
I said not ear licking.
Oh gosh, not Andrew Earlicker. I almost forgot about him. And then he just pops right back up. Okay. So we also find a machete and a restraining chair, which is a clue. Carved into the wall, the words, "How many days will they keep us here?" We also find a note about keeping reporters away written on the back of a telegram that was sent to Bragg, and mentions the miners' and reporters' interest in them.
It gives me Outlast whistleblower vibes to begin with this entire environment. My question is, what was the reporter taking pictures of that was so bad that they had to shut it down and pretty much, I'm assuming, like, beat the crap out of the reporter? Like, there must have been something that was not okay, and this corporation doesn't want to let those images go out there.
It gets weirder, though. He finds a dead arm on some kind of mechanism that is moving it back and forth.
Oh, God.
On said arm is a toe tag-like thing. So naturally Mike grabs it, and when he does, a bear trap clamps down on 2 of his fingers.
Oh, God.
What the hell is this?
Why is there a trap set up there?
So he's stuck in the bear trap. We hear the wolves closing in on him. We gotta make decisions, but thankfully the wheel decides for us. But it pretty much decides, like, I feel like one of the worst ways you could go, which is try prying it open once and then try chopping your fingers off.
I couldn't watch that. I had to cover my eyes. Talk about gore. First of all, it's heavy rain again, but at least you did all the cleaning for and sterilizing. This one, if he doesn't die from whatever is out to get him, he's going to die from an infection.
Oh yeah, he uses what has to be the nastiest gauze in existence to wrap up his hand. But it gets more disturbing because we find ourselves in the morgue. And not surprisingly, we find a dead person. In his shirt is the chapel key card. We also find a death certificate for Sarah Smith, which is a clue, from February 24th, 1952. It mentions that she died of severe lacerations on the abdomen. Sections of her intestines and kidneys were apparently eaten by the attacker. The murder weapon was fingernails.
That's crazy. So, who's doing the eating? Like, are they feeding it to the wolves, or is it the Red Vision psycho?
Verbatim, it says, "Body was not discovered until 6 to 8 hours after death. Sections of the intestines and kidneys were apparently eaten by the attacker." But as insane as this sounds, it was signed off by Dr. Bowen. Speaking of Dr. Bowen, we find an emergency medical tag for Dr. Bowen. He also died of lacerations, but to the throat, and this time we get a note that says, "Attacked by inmate." There's a door off of the morgue that leads to a hallway, and in the hallway he's chased by one of the wolves until he makes it into the upper portion of the chapel where he can lock it out. At this point he sees the mystery man leaving the main chapel room, and so he makes his way there.
I don't think that bone is animal bones.
Yeah, he chooses, well, the wheel chooses to not punch the wolf, and then he feeds it a bone from a trunk full of bones. So we don't know where those bones came from, but I would question it. We also find a cigar in a cigar box, which is a clue. And he says Stogie Stash exposed, which is a hint that's the same cigar that we found in the mine earlier with Jessica. So is this the same guy that's been following them around?
Yes, but my other thought too is, what if one of the miners got too powerful? And I don't know how, this is where the non-realistic elements play in, is that he ate all his other roommates in the mine, or I don't know.
Roommates.
I mean, they're stuck
I don't know
there
why
for 3
roommates
weeks.
was so funny.
They're stuck there for 3 weeks. But anyways, he gets powerful enough, and then he overtakes them, and then he becomes this crazy split personality, and one of his personality is like CEO-ish and smoking cigars, and then he goes crazy, and then he's like going full Traeger and like killing up people in the sanatorium. I don't know. I'm leaning into the multi-personality aspect of this game, or of the character.
Mike also finds a coat and a gun, so that's good. And then a clippings wall, which is also a clue. It includes topics of Bigfoot sightings, missing persons, footprints being found. The word liars is written on a clipping that says local man found dead. What the hell is this?
I don't know, but I feel like the person who wrote liar is probably the missing person.
Mike leaves out the same door the mystery man went through and continues exploring. He finds a death totem which shows him using a lighter and then exploding. And also a mine rescue photo which says the Miracle Men, the successful rescue of all 12 men trapped in the disaster of January 5th, 1952.
I think that if Mike were to die, it would be towards the end of the game where he decides to sacrifice himself to kill, or possibly kill, this red vision psycho, which I'm calling him a psycho because the subtitles called him that, so it's not me naming names. So I think that's what is going to happen. He needs to kill himself to save the rest of his friends.
And you bring up a good point, because we have the psycho, we have the mystery man, and we have the red vision thing. Are they all the same thing? Are they all three different? Are some of them the same?
You know, that's a good question. I don't think the clown and the red vision guy are the same people. Unless that person changes personas between the clown and this red vision thing.
There's a lot going on. To close out this scene, Mike ends up in some back rooms when a locked gate blocks his path. He then shoots the lock after he tossed a barrel of flammable liquid. So of course it erupts into flames, sending him flying backwards.
Tossing that barrel wasn't even necessary to what he was doing.
I know. What are you doing, Mike? Come on. You don't look. Everything is marked flammable.
Use your eyes, Mike.
So we see multiple screens, including the same image of the tub thing that we saw as Chris at the start of the game in the cable car station. Watching the monitors is the psycho. He hits a bunch of buttons which appears to lock a gate behind Matt. And then we're quickly playing as Matt, who tries the gate and discovers that someone has locked it, even though it was just unlocked.
So this evil clown is able to control everything from afar. I don't know where he's located, but that's probably why there is lighting under the library, but no lighting above ground.
It seems like he's playing Puppet Master. He can control lights, he can control doors, locks. He's got videos everywhere.
Right, how did no one know about him being able to do this? Like, is he maybe the groundskeeper?
At the very least, he has to have been there before. Matt and Emily are near one of the cable car stations, and Matt finds a can of red paint, saying it's still fresh. He also finds a death totem which shows him falling to his death onto some snowy rocks. Anything so far?
What was the paint used for? Was it to paint like the words liar, or not liar, but what was it? I think it was dye. Yeah.
I think so. It looks like dye is painted over and over the walls in the cable car station once they get in there. But they get in to the cable car station using the axe, which we saw the empty axe holder before, so now we know where it is. Matt spots a fire tower on the map, and Emily suggests they go there as it likely has a radio, and Matt agrees. And this is where Emily says,
"Well, someone's learning to play by the rules."
What? What rules?
Rule number 1, Emily is always right. Rule number 2, nothing else matters because Emily is always right.
Uh-huh.
Matt's response, though, just,
She's so annoying.
It's not the time for this. Anything before they shimmy to the other side?
She acts like she's so confident, but then when there's a chance of her dying, she immediately shoves Matt forward and said, like, you need to protect me.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
It's just up to you to not slip and fall off of this ledge. But once they do make it to the other side of the cable car station, we find a guidance totem showing Emily handing a flare gun to Matt. And then farther on, while exploring, Matt finds Beth's phone that we saw her drop in the prologue.
What information is on her phone that's important enough to
Mm-hmm.
add it back to the game?
Matt and Emily end up on the same cliff as Hannah and Beth and are soon surrounded by a herd of elk. Again with the elk.
I feel like the elk, they're not even that angry. So if you wanted to freak them out, I feel like a pack of wolves would have been better.
I don't understand the elk. I don't know the theme that we're supposed to be picking up from these elk. I don't get it. But should we move on to scene 10? Sam is still in the bath. She has got to be a prune by now.
Seriously.
How long has she been in there?
Well, it might have been 1 hour because the rest of the time was her just lighting all the candles.
She might have stayed in there even longer because she's interrupted by her candles being blown out when the door is slammed shut. She's listening to music and doesn't notice that the psycho is standing right behind her in the bathroom. She gets out and assumes that the gang is just messing with her, and gets even more convinced when she realizes that all of her clothes have been taken.
I don't understand why this clown needed to take her clothes from her.
They left her one sock. She leaves the bathroom in her towel, and she sees all of the candles and the directional balloons that have been set up. So she starts following them. She eventually is led to the theater and is quite irritated at this point, still thinking that it's just her friends messing with her. But then the doors close behind her and she hears the psycho's voice. It first shows her a video of herself in the bath, but then switches to Josh getting sawed in half.
That's too much.
She's getting thrown into the fire here.
Yeah. At least it's not like a live stream of her friends being killed.
When she's watching the video, she's like, "Why are you showing me this?" And I have to say, I love the response that she gets from the psycho.
Why are you watching?
Yeah.
He has a point.
He does.
And then we hear the psycho say, "I'm going to give you 10 seconds," and starts to count down. At 7 or maybe 6, he bursts into the room, and Sam makes a run for it.
That scared me.
It's scary.
And he's not like an easy face to look at either. He's so creepy that like you can't even look towards him. It's like you have to look away, but then you don't know what's going on.
And the eyes are like all pupil. It's creepy. After some close calls, Sam ends up running through the basement, ultimately finding herself in the old hotel, where she hides in an elevator shaft and the psycho loses her.
I don't understand why he didn't see her. It seems like he's a pretty good hunter. I'm wondering if he purposely let her go.
I think we're back to Dr. Hill. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, final scene.
He says, "You think this mistake won't have repercussions?" What mistake do you think he means by that?
I feel like not finding Sam, because that just happened, but it also gives him authority over the red vision or the clown or whoever he's talking to. It almost sounds like he is the puppet master.
While Dr. Hill lectures us, the psycho pops up and jump scares Dr. Hill. We learned a lot more about Dr. Hill in this episode. We saw things change in his office, and it now seems like he's talking to the psycho maybe, and he's also scared of the psycho.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with Dr. Hill? Any further theories?
I feel like he maybe was someone who worked at the sanatorium as a therapist, and then he pretty much got locked in there, like he stayed in there and couldn't leave, and that's why he's still in a room where there's boarded up windows.
I just love the analyst sections. I love how they don't stay consistent. They sort of change with the story and with the level of confusion we have as the player. Also, there's a snake on his desk now because we said that we are scared of snakes. But so far, no zombie or thunder.
Which I feel like that's a lot of work on their end to be tailoring our fears that we choose, because there's so many different combinations that we could have had.
Overall, How are you feeling about this game now after 2 parts?
This game got me stressed. I think after watching it, I needed a break.
Yeah.
The jump scares were a lot, and I didn't even have my headphones in. Imagine if I had noise canceling headphones in and that stuff came at me.
You would have tipped over in your chair.
I probably would have. So yeah,
Well,
so that was a lot to take in.
it was. Just 2 more videos for you to watch. And then you get a break from horror.
Thank goodness.
Is that it for this episode?
I think so. I'm ready to count us off. Audacity on 1, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to send in any questions, comments, or game suggestions. You can find all our contact info on our website, replayreviewspod.com, or contact us directly through our site.
Did we completely miss something? Are we way off the mark? Or you just want us to take a deeper look at anything from the game? We'll tackle any topics you all want to hear in our season wrap-up episode.
We also have a Reddit where we discuss anything we're curious about. Go take a look and let us know what you're thinking. Our theme music is Condemned by Eggy Toast. They'll play you out, and we'll be back next week.